Rome, March of the year 44 before Christ. The air was heavy with whispers, with rumors spreading like fire across marble walls. At the center of it all stood a figure who seemed untouchable: Julius Caesar, victorious general, perpetual dictator, the man who had pushed the Republic to its very limits, and who, unknowingly, was about to face his destiny. Caesar was no ordinary ruler. He had conquered Gaul, crossed the Rubicon in defiance of Rome's laws, and defeated Pompey in a civil war that left him the absolute master of Rome. But that power, so vast, so absolute, sparked fear. To many senators, Caesar was no longer a leader of the Republic. He was a king in everything but name. And Rome, since its very foundation, had sworn it would never again bow to a king. The conspirators were men close to him, many who had prospered thanks to his rise. Among them, Brutus Caesar's protege, almost an adopted son, and Cassius shrewd, resentful, convinced that the Republic was dying under the weight of one man. They called themselves the Liberators. To them, this was not a crime. It was a necessary sacrifice. The Ides of March arrived. Caesar, warned by soothsayers, and even by his wife Calpurnia, had hesitated. There were ominous dreams, signs in the sky, an atmosphere heavy with fate. And yet, that morning, he decided to attend the Senate. Perhaps out of pride, perhaps because he believed no one would dare confront him openly. The meeting place was not the traditional Senate, but the theater of Pompeian interim venue, while the Curia was under reconstruction. Ironic, the heir of Rome's power would be slain in the shadow of the man he had defeated. When Caesar entered, the conspirators surrounded him with excuses. One approached, pleading for the pardon of an exiled brother. While they distracted him, another tugged at his toga. It was the signal. The first blade came from Casca, clumsy, nervous. Caesar, stunned, cried out, "What are you doing, Casca?" But more daggers followed, a storm of blades. Ancient accounts speak of 23 stab wounds, though perhaps only one was truly fatal. In the chaos, it is said Caesar, bloodied and staggering, saw among his attackers the face of Brutus. And in that moment, he uttered history's most famous, though debated, words: "You, too, Brutus." Whether he spoke them or not, the phrase echoed through the centuries. Caesar fell at the base of Pompey's statue, staining the stone of his old rival with blood. The conspirators believed they had saved Rome. They believed that, by killing the dictator, they would restore the Republic to its former glory. But they were wrong. The city froze. The people who loved Caesar for his reforms, his forgiveness of debts, his land distributions, and his games, did not rejoice at his death. They mourned, they cried out, they raged. His funeral became a roar of the masses. Mark Antony, his loyal ally, held up Caesar's blood-soaked toga before the crowd, igniting their fury. The mob erupted, burning the houses of some conspirators, and the Republican ideal Cassius and Brutus claimed to defend collapsed in mere days. From that blood, something new was born. Not the rebirth of the Republic, but its end. Caesar's heirs first, Antony, then Octavian would wield his memory as a weapon. The young Octavian, soon to be called Augustus, would become Rome's first emperor, and thus the death of one man marked the birth of an empire. The stabbing of Julius Caesar was not merely an assassination. It was an irreversible turning point in history. A betrayal cloaked in ideals, an act of violence meant to save the Republic, but that instead sealed its destruction. That March 15th was forever remembered as the day Rome, with a dagger in hand, shed its skin. Today, more than 2,000 years later, we still recall that scene. Not because Caesar was invincible, nor because the conspirators were heroes or villains, but because in that moment, that circle of men and blades san eternal truth was revealed. That power, when concentrated too heavily in one man, breeds fear. And fear, sooner or later, takes up a dagger. The Ides of March remain a symbol, a warning, a reminder that even the greatest can fall, and that sometimes, in the attempt to save a cause, one ends up destroying it forever.